Hi, my Twitter people. Yesterday I was inspired by a tweet. Uh, oh, it was an interview with two Iraqi ladies and how they experienced the fall of Saddam Hussein 2003, about 15 years ago. So I would like to do the same, try to answer the same questions, but in somehow an interactive way. It's going to be a kind of walk and talk on campus. I'm now on campus of Mosul University. So the first question was, where were you when the statue fell? Let me tell you something about myself. I'm Al-Baroodi. I was born at the outset of the Iraqi-Iranian war in 1982. I was not aware of how the war was because it was the kind of war fought in a battle, not like a guerrilla war or a street-to-street war. Number two, in 1991, I woke up in midnight on the start of the Second Gulf War. It was something I experienced and I could feel as the bombing was so heavy in Mosul, relatively heavy, not as much heavy as it was in the southern part of Iraq. I lived under the economic blockade under Saddam Hussein. It was one of the most difficult times to live in that era. But most importantly, in 2003, I was a sophomore, a second year student at the Department of Translation. And 2 weeks before the start of war, like the 7th, 8th of March 2003, we stopped going to campus. Everything stopped in Mosul. People were so panicky. It was a panic situation. People were asking questions about the war. They were shopping a lot and to store food. They thought that the war was going so long. So some Ba'athist university teachers used to attend the classes in March wearing khaki clothes with guns over their hips. So we could notice war. We could notice fighters and soldiers in the street. We could see foreign fighters in the streets as well. So it was all telling that there was going to be a war, and not an easy one. The war started, and it was kind of heavy. There were a lot of bombings because there was no battlefield or a front line in Mosul like the other southern cities of Iraq, like Basra, so there is no land invasion. It was all restricted on bombing. I could tell that the war was not going for a long time. And my father expected the same because the regime was at the top. The regime was at the top of its corruption. It was quite a corrupted regime. So, and there were a lot of propaganda on TV that Iraq is going to be victorious as usual, because in the mindsets of dictators there is no defeat. Days and weeks passed, and on the 9th of April, 15 years ago, there was a huge collapse. There was a huge collapse. I still remember I went out to the highway next to my neighborhood, and I could tell that Nobody was there. Not the Ba'ath Party members and fighters, not the soldiers, empty vehicles. And the local TV was broadcasting the national anthem. He was still, Saddam Hussein, he was still trying to give an impression that nothing is going to happen. We could catch, as Rasha Al-Aqidi mentioned, we could catch a satellite broadcast from a Kurdish local TV. We could catch that signal, and we did not believe it. We did not believe it's going to be that kind of fast collapse. So 15 years ago, how did it feel at the beginning? I was not happy with Saddam Hussein. I belong to a low class, a low income family. I saw my father leaving his employment to have an extra job so he can make life go so easily. I could see my mother being paid $3 a month, and she was a teacher. So I cannot say that I was happy. The best way to describe it is to say that it was a mixed emotion, a status of mixed emotions. One of the worst things that happened was the looting that spread in Mosul and in most of Iraq. Next day we couldn't stand still like that and watch them loot the government institutes, the university, and so we hurried and we formed something like small armed groups to protect our neighborhoods, to restore some of the stolen stuffs, and to stop that chaos, because they let the thieves steal everything and steal and burn. And now I'm standing in front of the central library, as you can see. And the central library was one of the places that was looted. In my college, there were both looting and arson and burning. And some people say that, okay, people were angry, but that does not mean that we burn everything around. We burn our institutes and university and so on. I still remember the next question in the podcast yesterday. 15 years on, what do you see? What do you expect? And how do you look at the situation of Iraq nowadays? 15 years on, and hundreds of people were either killed and displaced. The demographic texture of the society is messed with. It's no longer the same. We no longer see Christians in Mosul. Their churches are abandoned. Half of the city, almost at least 1/3 of the city, is still suffering without water and electricity. A lot of things. I don't want to mention everything today, but 15 years on, I can say I still have a status of mixed emotions. I look for the best after the tsunami of ISIS. I'm still looking for the best and try to inspire, try to work with my students, with my colleagues, with my people, with people of Mosul, with Iraq, with no any kind of racial, ethnic or nationalistic discrimination. What is done is done, and my message to my people is to look for the best, look for the future, and the future is something we make. It is not something that we expect or predict. So let's work for the best. Let's make Mosul great again, Iraq great again, and most importantly, the library. 15 years on, and we still lack the existence of a decent library after what ISIS did, after the bombing on the library. We can have a look. This is the pile that I keep filming whenever I come by. But let's not focus on dark things only. Let's have a look on the campus. Exactly a year ago, I couldn't walk through this corridor. It was a mess, a big mess. It was not safe. Now it is safe. Students are back here from different parts of Iraq, from different ethnic backgrounds. So this could be a ray of hope. But how to make it better, for me, is to focus on openness. We need to be open to others. Mosul has always been a city of a lot of complications. So to make it even better, we need to open to each other, and then we open to the world. 15 years on, as if it were yesterday. Today I had a class with my students, and I asked them, in 2003, where were you at that time? How did you feel? It was a kind of difficult question because they were either 5 or 6 years old, the same age I was in 1980s. I don't remember anything about that war. They have the same feeling, which means that generation after generation, and we are still at the state of emergency, at a state of war. So let's hope for the next generation to live a life without war, and I hope I could describe my life at that time. And see you later. Bye bye.